So remember how yesterday I gave you a trig ratio, and then this is how you spot these. Everyone paying attention? These are how these are spotted. I give you a trig ratio, and I ask for another trig ratio out of it. Okay? So I give you a trig ratio like tan of this, secant of this, cos of this, and then I ask for what's cotan of this. So I give you a trig ratio, ask for a new one. Give you a trig ratio equal to a fraction, ask for a new one. The catch is, if I give you a trig ratio, I have to give you another piece of information to actually find out if the x or the y, whichever one's missing, is positive or negative, right? If I don't give you an extra piece of information, we have square root of plus or minus that value, okay? So I'd have two actual answers, which I can't have. Now, they could not give you a limitation, and then you would end up having double answers of each, because you'd have plus or minus of all the x's and all the x's or the y's, okay? So yesterday's was easy. I literally just gave you the quadrant, or I gave you like the degrees, and therefore it linked you to the quadrant, right? Today, I'm going to give you a trig ratio, and then another piece of information which will limit you. The other piece of information will tell you if a trig ratio is positive or negative, so we're going to have to use cast. Hence why I talked about cast a few seconds ago. Remembering what cast is? Cast is all students take calculus or cast, which makes you start in not quadrant 1, which is stupid. But whatever, you can do what you want. I start in quadrant 1 and do all students do take calculus. All students do calculus would not work. You need a T. All students take calculus. Okay? Or cast and just start in quadrant 4. But then it throws people off thinking that's quadrant 1, which it is not. Okay? All students take calculus goes in the order of actually the quadrants. All right. So we have sine, we have a trig ratio. I'm asking you to find trig ratios, right? So what does that scream? It screams, I need to find a third side so I can get trig ratios. This is sine what? What's the acronym? Sine your resume. Which one of these bad boys needs to be negative? There's a negative just sitting in front. It's like giving us options. Why? Because the R can't be. What side do I have to find? X. So let's find those. So we have x squared equals r squared minus y squared. So x squared equals 3 squared minus negative 2 squared. If you're typing it in, you need to make sure you put it in brackets, because if you put negative 2 squared not in brackets, it's going to tell you it's a negative 4, which it is not. So we get x squared minus 9, equals 9, minus, what's negative 2 squared? 4. Because when you take a negative and you square it, it becomes positive, right? And then x squared equals 5. Square root. When I take that square root, I get plus or minus root 5. Now, I need a piece of information to limit me to whether it's positive or negative, right? So basically, I need to find out what the heck quadrant it's in. If I know if it's in quadrant 3, then I know if it's quadrant 2, 4, right? I can tell what the x is. So let's figure out what quadrant it's in. So we need to do some little narrowing down. Well, this one says sine is what? Negative. So this one here says sine theta is less than 0, technically, is what it's telling me, is it not? So sine is negative. Remembering all students take calculus. So where is sine negative? Which quadrants? 3 and 4. Because all are positive here in quadrant 1. Sine is positive in quadrant 2. So the places that sine is negative are quadrants 3 and 4. Is that correct? Then I told you I have to give you another piece of information. Because if I don't give you another piece of information, x is negative in quadrant 3, x is positive in quadrant 4. I've narrowed down nothing. Right? So that's why I give you this other extra piece of information. Tan theta is greater than 0. So that's just saying tan theta is what? Positive. Where is that happening? Where is tan theta positive? 1 and 3. Where's my overlap, guys? 3. You see that? This one's good in quadrant 3, 4. This one's good in quadrant 1, 3. So where are they both good? Quadrant 3. So it would technically be here. What's my x there? My x is negative in quadrant 3, is it not? So if I went to draw it, which this gives me, x equals negative root 5, y equals negative 2, which makes sense because y is negative here, and r equals 3. You do the 3 trig ratios. Go. So COS is what acronym? Cook? Extra rice. What's x? Negative root 5 over 3. Cosecant goes with which one? Sine. Say you forget. Do we just guess? No, we have a formula sheet with lots of formulas on it that we don't want to guess. So the formula sheet says cosecant is 1 over sine. So sine is your resume. So this is resume your. They also gave it to us. That's okay. So we're going to get 3 over negative 2. And then cotangent. Tangent is tan your x box. So this is x box your. And x is negative root 5. And y is negative 2. Wait, this one's positive. Why is it positive here? What quadrant are we in? 3. What's positive in quadrant 3? Cotan and tan. And then these two shouldn't be because they're not positive in that quadrant, right? So let's double check. All right, I want you guys to try the next one. Do that one out. So this is COS, so it's cook extra rice. And the x is with the right one, right? Like the negative is with the x. But you have to watch yourself because like I've told you before, sometimes it is. Can I show you something else that you're going to get confused with before we do this? This is the ultimate, almost on every single test I've ever seen in the entirety of man. They will give you tan. You're just paying attention, you don't have to write this. They'll say tan theta equals 3/4. Okay? And then everyone will say tan your x box, which is true. And then they'll say y is 3 and x is 4, which looks true. But then they'll give you somehow, they'll say sine theta is less than 0. Okay? So let's watch what happens. Tan is positive. We see that here. Tan theta is greater than 0. Please don't write tans without thetas. I just did it myself. All students take. Whoa, what am I doing? I'm doing cast backward. What? Just that didn't happen. You didn't see it. It's not on the recording. All students take calculus. So where's tan positive? Quadrant 3, quadrant 1. Right? In quadrant 1, these would both be positive. In quadrant 3, they're actually both negative. Keep that in mind. Now, sine is less than 0 in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. They will set you up with a tan or a cotan in quadrant 3 because it actually makes both of these negative, and you will not do that. Because what's a negative divided by a negative? Positive. So does there actually have to be remnants of negatives left behind here? No. But when you figure it out and you see, oh, it's in quadrant 3. Oh, in quadrant 3, my coordinates are negative, negative. Oh. They're not going to put the negative over a negative. They're not. The negative over a negative will cancel and it will become positive. So when you see a tan or a cotan, be suspicious that it's probably in quadrant 3 and they probably both need to be negative. Do you see what I'm saying? Everyone seeing what I'm saying? Because when I draw it here, I would go x equals negative 3 and y, that's a bold-headed lie, x equals negative 4 and y equals negative 3. They often throw a tan at you. And they make it positive, and they throw a quadrant 3. It's like a go-to teacher move. It's amazing. Awesome. Does it happen? Yeah. all the time. Do you see how you could fall to the error of making them both positive, though? Because they literally are positive? Yeah. Okay, back to this. So, we know that cos theta is less than 0. And where is it less than 0? Where C and A don't exist, right? So in quadrant 2, quadrant 3. And this is where tan is negative. Well, where is tan negative? Where A and T don't exist. Quadrant 2, quadrant 4. And they share quadrant 2. I don't know why I change my 2's up. I do that often. It's slightly annoying. So I know I'm sitting in quadrant 2. And I know my x is negative 5. I know my r is 13. And I know my y is positive something. Because I drew it in quadrant 2 and I know my y's are positive there. Right? So I get y squared equals 13 squared minus negative 5 squared. Y squared equals 169 minus 25. Y squared equals 144. Y equals plus or minus root 144. And y equals positive 12 because I drew it and I know it's positive. Right? And then I have to do my trig ratio. So we have sine theta is sine your resume. So it's going to be 12 over 13. Secant is the opposite of cos. So cos is cook extra rice. So this is rice extra. 13 over negative 5. Or you could go negative 13 over 5. Or you could go negative 13 over 5. All of those are right. And then tan your x box is 12 over negative 5. Okay? The homework is still from this last one. You have 4.4 left to do, which is solving. But once again, it's from page 202. Number 3. And 12.